Hi, I'm Amy, and this is the HalfCaff podcast, where we talk about what I'm knitting, what I'm crocheting, what I'm drinking. Thanks for coming so early. It's 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, July 5th. And as I've said before, I like to record out here in the morning when it's all quiet and the light is pretty good. I hope the light's good. You know, it's kind of overcast. Maybe it'll burn off as it usually does in the afternoon, but a very welcome change from the heat wave that we endured here in the Pacific Northwest last week. I don't even want to think about it, but it was miserable. I'm definitely one of those people that likes it more cool than warm. Like 80 is really pushing it for me. So I was pretty ornery. And in the Pacific Northwest, most people don't have air conditioning in their homes because it's not typically needed. I'm sure you saw all this on the news if you heard about all the heat wave stuff. So it was pretty miserable. I have never been here when it's been 105. And I've lived here a good 18 years or so. So that was intense. And here I am thinking that I'm going to crochet in the mornings. And here I am thinking that I'm going to get up early and crochet in the mornings. And it was, it was 85 degrees at like midnight. It was crazy. Those of you who deal with this regularly, wow, impressive. And I'm sorry. Anyway, it's probably 65 right now. It's the best. I love it. And now I can have my hot coffee. I'm not somebody who doesn't drink hot coffee in the heat, but it's certainly more pleasant when it's all nice and cool, right? This is today's mug. It's just all the Snoopies from all the different years. I love it. This is actually the mug that I use probably the most regularly. So this is my morning mug. I wouldn't say that Snoopy's necessarily the most funny comic. It's just adorable and nostalgic, and I love Snoopy, and I totally loved Snoopy when I was a kid. He even beat out Garfield. There's actually decaf in my mug today because I've been nocturnal this summer so far, especially during that heat wave. So I just stayed up to talk with you. So hopefully I'm not too spacey. But in the meantime, the knit and crochet keeps piling up because I can't stop and I won't stop. So let me show you. First of all, I'm wearing my new thing. So this is the Summer Sorrel Tea by Voolenvine. And the yarn is Voolenvine yarns. It's called Dead Calm. It's on her Nouveau base. It's fingering weight. And it's just this really, I think the color's translating okay. It's just this really like kind of gorgeous blue green. And I really love how it turned out. I think that the neck is a little wide for me. And I think that I'm having that problem a lot where either I don't account for how much it's going to stretch when I block it, but it's not, I'm following the pattern. So maybe I need to adjust it as I'm making, not just for blocking, but either the patterns I'm choosing are more likely the size I'm choosing, kind of switching it up. I need this size for maybe the bust and the waist, but I need this size for the shoulders or that kind of thing. So I might need to do some tweaking because I'm noticing that seems to happen where it just feels like the neckline gets wider and wider. I don't want it super narrow right up here, but this is a little bit wide for me, but it's okay. I was also worried that this was going to look like I'm just wearing my shirt inside out. And I have to confess a little bit. I think obviously the lines of dip stitches they make it look like this is the way it's supposed to be. But I'm not sure I can get over that reverse stockinette. It just the purl side showing just looks like it's, again, a little bit inside out. So it bothers me like this much. So you know, I think I'll wear it. I do like it. It's short sleeved, so that's nice for summer. I have noticed that also working this inside out, or, you know, yeah, inside out basically as you do. After you get through the dip stitches, you work this inside out so that you don't have to do rows and rows of endless purls, since most people don't like that. But it kind of made the ribbing a little tricky because it, how do I explain it? It might not lay as flat. And I don't mean that it's curling. I mean that there's a little bit of a bubble where the ribbing starts and the purl begins, and you don't notice it when it's on the, you know, quote unquote right side, because that bubble's on the inside. But now you kind of notice it. So I don't know if you can see that. I tried to block it out, and, you know, I might try again, but it kind of does a little fold sort of sometimes. You might see it happen. Just a little bubble right there. Anyway, small things. It's very lovely. And I'm glad I got it finished so that I could wear it, in the somewhat cooler, but still kind of hot summer. I think I would recommend this. It's definitely interesting. I think that, and some of this I mentioned before when we last visited, the beginning is kind of stressful. It calls for a labor-intensive cast on, and then of course you're doing the short rows in the back while you're trying to keep track of your dip stitches. And one thing that I don't like about this, and I don't think that you can really notice it, but it did block out a little bit. But that first, so the dip stitches are knit stitches stacked on top of each other, and the rest of it is purl. And since it's purl, that's what makes the columns of dip stitches stand out from the background. If it was all knit, it wouldn't stand out as much. So that's great. But I'm having trouble. I have trouble with my tension after when I switch from knit to purl. And I do a couple of things typically when I'm doing ribbing or things like that, and I'm switching a lot, where I will adjust my tension that usually make up for it. But I couldn't do that as much here because I didn't want to pull too tight or screw with the tension of the dip stitch, which you have to be careful with to let that long loop happen and not, like, you know, tighten it up or make it uneven. So it was kind of difficult to maintain the tension there. So like I said, it blocked out. I don't think that you can really notice it, especially just casually wearing it. But those were some of the kind of the tricky bits, I guess, that I had to become accustomed to and work out. So I was kind of relieved when we got to stockinette, or, you know, when I got to stockinette, because I was working it inside out. But that part's kind of boring, so I guess I was trying to find the sweet spot the whole time, but I did enjoy the project. Now, most of the rest of my finished objects are actually crochet. I did make an amigurumi, and I cranked it out in a day, maybe a day and a half, and gave it to my daughter. It is also from Animal Crossing, that game that I told you about last time. Thanks for listening. My backpack that I made in last episode, episode 6, is all lined now, and it's even been tested out in the wild. So that's fun. So I made a character from Animal Crossing. Her name is Mable. She's my favorite character. This is a pattern. I'll show her to you in a minute. But this is a pattern by Wooli, and it's just, you know, called Mable because that's her name. She turned out kind of giant. And mostly I think that's because the pattern, my kind of go-to with amigurumi is an F-hook and a worsted weight yarn. And an F-hook is like 3.75. So probably more like a 3.5 or 3.25 might be better with a worsted weight for amigurumi, just so that it doesn't, you know, the stuffing doesn't show through your holes. And so, you know, as you can, if you look really, really close, you can kind of tell that it might be showing through a little bit. Overall, you don't really notice that because it's all kind of uniform. The surface is all kind of uniform, so you don't notice big holes. You just see her cute little face. But anyway, I used my go-to F-hook, as one does. And this pattern is meant to use, I think, maybe a DK, or can't be a fingering, but maybe a DK and like a C hook or something. So if I do it on this scale, it's pretty big. But my daughter says it's exceptionally cuddly at this size, so I'm very happy about that. There's a lot of felt work, of course, and so she's kind of got puckers around the edge, you know, where I glue these down so that I don't have to, that I sew less, and also so that I can kind of control better how it looks, and I'm not putting holes in the felt or anything. But yeah, this is a little bit wrinkly, but I'm really proud of, you know, cutting out, you know, crappy little craft felt with any kind of evenness. So she's got her little hairs and her little Christmas evergreen tree t-shirt, little tail in the back. So she's just a little bear. Anyway, she's adorable, I think. The pattern is fantastic. I definitely recommend it. So again, that's Maple by Wooli. The yarn is just stash yarn. And so it was really great. It was really great to be able to just pull whatever from stash. So I honestly don't even remember what it is. So there's Maple. Now, an Instagram friend of mine turned me on to this next thing. And I have seen people do this kind of thing for a while, and you know, thought it looked really pretty, but never got around to it. And she kept posting these pictures. And I finally was so excited about seeing them that I wanted to try my own. And now I kind of can't stop. So this is part of why I've been crocheting so much. I've been crocheting mandala patterns. But what this friend of mine does is turn them into parasols. So basically like this elaborate lace parasol, you can do it in many colors or one color. She's been doing ones that fade, and I really like that. So I picked her brain for all, you know, the good ideas, the yarn that she likes, and, you know, what pattern she uses. And so I want to show you, I don't have it on the parasol frame yet. I need to go shopping for that or figure that out. But I have completed the mandala, at least as far as my one cake of yarn lasted before it ran out. And hopefully it will fit. I can find a parasol to fit it. It has been blocked, so I've got about 30 inches. So hopefully that works out. I think it's probably better, as she suggested, to block it on the frame and kind of, you know, think about that to begin with. But this was my first one, and I just sort of wanted to use one cake, see what I get, see how far I get, and just go with it. So it's basically just like a giant doily right now. So I'll see if I can even get this all in the frame. The answer is no. This is a gorgeous yarn called Cotton Kings. It is their Twirls shadow. So this fades from rose to dark rose to black in the cake. I'll show you that cake in a minute because I got two of them. But I just love the detail on this. So this pattern is called Mandala Madness, and it's by Helen Shrimpton. It's a fantastic pattern. There are other mandalas I've been wanting to try too. So, you know, stay tuned, right? I decided to stop around row 50, I want to say, where I thought that I was getting, you know, I was running out of, you know, yarn, obviously. I kind of snuck a little bit from the other cake to just kind of finish the row I was on with the black. But mostly I just wanted to make one cake worth. So that was about 50 rounds. And every round is different. She's had somebody create, I'll just keep showing it to you while I talk about it. She's had somebody create videos for each part, which is so super helpful, because it's not that it's, you know, I mean, it's just crochet stitches. It's not complicated, but, it's really hard to keep track of the intensity of every round being so different on, like in written, and maybe some people can do charts. I'm not visual like that. So there's 8 points, and, missed one. There's 8 points, and so that'll fit an 8-pointed, parasol with 8 tines. I don't know what they're called. It'll have to be kind of a small one. So this is the center. So essentially that's the hang. So I guess it really isn't very long, but hopefully long enough. Hopefully like it'll fit a child size. I've seen child size come in about 34 inches, which is a little bit still too long, even stretched. We'll see. Stay tuned. But anyway, that is Mandala Madness, the first 50 rows, which I think is the first 9 parts. Maybe only like 7 parts. And there's like 18 or something. So it could get really big. It's meant to be a blanket. But anyway, I had so much fun doing this that I decided to make another one. I'll show you that in a minute. First, let me show you the yarn. So this is what it looks like in the cake. I love that rose color. They've got a more dramatic pink as well, but this kind of more muted rose or like dusty pinks I really love. And of course the fade to black is super cool. So this is what it looks like in the cake. I also got 2 cakes of, I think this is the lavender purple, because again there's a couple of purples as well. Really like this one. I'm definitely going to make another one with this one, and I probably will make it larger. But I also decided to kind of have some fun and practice with some little doll parasols. And they're about, I want to say 18 inches or so. Now with the Mandala Madness, the center, I mean, if you can see here, you know, really you'd want to get at least this main flower in. And so that might have worked, but I was concerned that like this, sorry, this flower right here, these little petals right here. So I wasn't sure how big that would, if that would end up big enough, or if it would look kind of lacy enough or pointed enough, because these are round, kind of rounded, and you want kind of points at the end, like a star shape or something. Even these would be a little bit more pointy, so that you can attach it to the ends of the umbrella, and it'll make that pointed shape. So I decided to actually try, even though I really like that pattern a lot, I actually decided to try and find another pattern that maybe was more suited. And I did find a doily pattern. It's called Mable, not to be confused with Maple. It's called Mable, and it is by Fearon. And she also has, I believe it's a free pattern on Ravelry, but she also has a YouTube video that walks you through step by step, which is fantastic. So here's my little doll parasol. So this is actually on the parasol now, 100% finished, whereas I still have to find the parasol for my Mandala Madness. This one's all finished, ready for the reveal. How cute is that? So I love this fade. I had to orchestrate it a little bit, honestly, because I have a fair amount of this yarn. I have almost a full cake, and obviously this is not, I mean, this is tiny, right? I could make a whole second or third one with what I've got in the cake left. So I kind of orchestrated the fade, which is why it's a little bit more like striped instead of gradual, but I think it works. There's the underside. You can kind of see it's attached to how it's attached to the tines where I have sewn it. And I didn't do a lot to secure it here. I just sort of right on the very inside kind of went in and out with a needle in that same color, this light color yarn. So you can't really see where I secured it, but that's so that I could secure the tines up here so that it's not just attached right here, because these can come off. So you sew it to these little ends after you've, cut off the, get that back on, after you've cut off the crappy plastic parasol it comes with, or you know, cover or it comes with, or whatever. You pull all these off, and then you'll want to reuse them to secure the parasol. So on a doll size one, you know, just this little kind of securing around that's hidden in here is going to be plenty fine. On the big one, I'll probably want to secure it, like, say, you know, around like here or here. I don't know, maybe both. So I'll need to secure it more when I create the bigger one, and even make the purple one, which is going to be even bigger. But this one was a great way to get my feet wet. The parasol was, I think, $4 or something. You could probably find even a cheaper one at the dollar store even. So this is definitely worth a try if you are into that kind of thing. I'm sure you can find knit ones as well. Crochet, I think, is just so conducive to doing this kind of doily thing. And it's such a great fit for a parasol. So I definitely recommend this pattern, even if you're not going to do it on a parasol. I did one in a thicker yarn. It was a 2 instead of a thinner cotton. It was a 2 acrylic, so it was a little thick and kind of heavy for the parasol. So cotton seems to be best for that. It's a little bit lighter. And my friend who has given me all her pointers also kind of mentions that, you know, if you get a full-size parasol, you do not want the yarn to be too heavy, because you're kind of, you know, you're holding it up. Obviously a doll one, no big deal, but holding a bigger one, you want the yarn to be kind of light. So she has also recommended the Hobbi, or Hobbi, I guess it is, the Cotton Kings yarn is one of the ones that she uses. This is something different. This is actually a cotton acrylic blend, and it's I think it's My Melody. It's Melody Woltram dyes this and winds them up into cakes that are gorgeous fades. So that's this yarn, and it's something that I had in my stash. It's not the Cotton Kings, but either one. I mean, obviously this works great as well, and it's so adorable. My daughter snagged this one as well, but I think I'm going to make a few and sell them in my shop, because I don't need a bunch of doll parasols, but I need to make a bunch of doll parasols because it's so fun. Okay, so I think that takes me to my one work in progress that I want to show you. Obviously, I have many, but the one that I'm really actively working on, and that is, I've shown pictures of this on Instagram, but I've gotten a little bit further. Let me just prepare it. So this is the Dingley Delty. You can see that. I love, love, love these colors. I'm about halfway through. I still need to do the sleeves, but they're short sleeves, so we're all good. I'll obviously need to do the collar too. There's decent size ribbing around the collar. So halfway at best. This is, so as I said, the Dingley Delty. This was the one I was so excited about. I kept seeing it on Instagram, and everyone was doing fantastic colors and such interesting striping patterns, and I cannot wait. In fact, I couldn't wait, so I had to use a kit that I got from Voolenvine, Voolenvine Yarns again. This is on her footsie base, and this is one of the kits that she's been putting together lately. So this is Blood Moon, and this is Rosewater, and this is Historybound. And they, of course, all go really well together, because that's kind of the point of a kit. So I didn't know what I was going to use that for, but I knew I had to have it, and I loved those colors. And it just really, really worked out for this, and I had it already. So I just cast on with it, and that's what it's becoming. So I want to make another one right after this, and I'm loving it so far, so I fully expect it to turn out well, and fully expect myself to want another one. So, but that one I'm going to do in I'm hoping for a really rich black and a kind of a dark gray. This is pretty much a joy to knit. It's actually knit flat until you join the V-neck. And, you know, you break for the sleeves just it depends on where you break for the sleeves as far as like what your size is and where your stripes are going to land. And she's kind of worked all that out for you in the pattern, which is really cool. But it's worked flat until you close that V, and then it's worked in the round. And now I'm on the stockinette part, so now I'm bored. But the good thing is that you change colors I ended up kind of accidentally going over, so now it's like every 30 rounds I'm changing color instead of, I think it's because mine is supposed to be 26 or something. Anyway, whoops, that happens. But you kind of look forward to changing the next color, you know, so that kind of keeps it moving. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this, and I definitely hope to wear it next time you visit. Well, I think that's all I have to show you, and I think I'm going to let you get on your way because you've got things to do with your day because it's 7 in the morning on a Monday morning. Ooh, that's cold and still good. So anyway, let's chat again. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a good day. Bye. I want to tell you about. So I have 2 cool people to mention in this podcast. Wow, stop it. Now I have 2. Seriously, dude. I have. Yeah, bye.